biggest thing that I'm noticing right now, it's for when it comes to people not qualifying, like home buyers not qualifying for a home. It's not income or lack of income. It's not credit. And these two categories used to be big ones. A lot of my clients are either my age or within a 5 to 7 year age up. They're either 7 or 8 years older than me, or they're my age, or maybe a few years younger than me. And, historically, this last decade and a half, 2 decades, it was really, hey, they just didn't have the credit or they didn't have the income. They just graduated from college, or they had just started their job after, trade school. And so they were just in their infancy of their career. So that solves the answer in the riddle as to why their income was where it was at. And, as far as credit, again, baby credit. My generation, my class didn't really get taught by our parents or school, or there wasn't classes or college or things like this taught in school or high school or middle school where, hey, this is how you improve your credit. Hey, take out a auto loan. Hey, take out a small credit card, pay on it every time, have a gas card, pay it off every month. We didn't have that type of education widely available to us, unlike today's era where you can just hop on a YouTube video or YouTube channel or even social media or even Google search or even ChatGPT, and you can find out with a click of a button, what you need to do to improve your FICO score. Income, very, very different from the landscape that we saw 2 decades ago as well. We're in the gig economy. You have so many different ways that you can create and make an income. But again, I revert back to the number one reason that I'm seeing home buyers not qualify these days, and it's savings. It's having the funds for the down payment. It's having rainy day reserves. And let's talk about that. Let's open up that discussion. Here's why I believe we're in this situation. Again, I'm speaking for my genre, my era of people. If you're a little less than 40 or 10 years ahead of me, then you're going to relate to this. Okay? I think my opinion is the issue is we have a lot of the wrong type of influence happening. Let's really dissect that word, right? Influencer. So we're watching somebody that we are following. We are following this person, and something about them is intriguing us. I wish I could say that, hey, we're all following the same, people. We're following Jay Shetty, the former monk, or we're following Tony Robbins, or we're following, Dave Ramsey, or we're following, somebody, our church leader, or we're following like good people in our community. I wish that that's what our feed was. But the reality is a lot of us are following things that we're intrigued by. And we happen to be intrigued by, we as humans happen to be intrigued by those things that are, sometimes out of reach or fancy, That's why we stop the scroll when a lot of folks stop the scroll when they see somebody with, with their spouse at a fancy dinner. You ever see one of those videos where like we were in Napa and they lift the lid and the smoke comes off of the cocktail and you're like, whoa, where are they at? And you watch it, you like it, and you follow it because you're like, well, I want to eat at these type of places, Well, these type of places cost a ton of money. They don't highlight how much the bill was for that, the receipt was, for that restaurant. Okay, let's keep going with other things that stop the scroll, shall we? So when we see that person that just doesn't fit the stereotype of success, like they're fully tatted out, or they look like they're, a mob boss or something, right? And they're driving like a Ferrari, or they're driving a Lamborghini, or they're driving a McLaren, or they're in a private jet. And now they're sitting there telling you about how they have amassed a huge real estate portfolio. Or you're stopping the scroll to see somebody that has, let's talk about body issues for a second. We're stopping the scroll when we see somebody that's influencing us, an influencer. And we're stopping the scroll because we're watching their workout routine. And we're watching their workout routine, watching these 8-pack, 12-pack that they have, and this chiseled body. And you're like, whoa, like maybe if I watch this, I can pick something up of knowledge and learn. when the reality is this is a gig economy now. This is a creator's economy now. That has been added as an industry type over this last decade, or half a decade, if you really want to call it that. It really expanded after COVID, right? We're all locked down and we're watching this and we're like, whoa, wow, this is fascinating. This is cool. And then we subconsciously, in my opinion, become entrenched with this type of view. And we're like, wow, this is really cool. I want this lifestyle. I want this. I'm craving it. When in reality, like, it's out of touch with what our incomes or finances can actually provide. So let me say this to you in like the most street, blue collar, sunny way of saying it, right? I'm not a smart guy. Let me say it in the most sunny way of saying it. 9 out of 10 times the influencer you're watching, they're just trying to sell something. And they're going to sell it to you in the most sexiest way because sex sells. And they're going to sell it to you in the most coolest way, the most trendiest of way. That's why they call it a trend, right? And they're going to put it with the most hippest music, and they're going to make it sound they're going to sell the sweetest dream in order for you to buy fill in the blank here, whether it's coaching or a program or a course, because that is the trend. Let's talk about some real life issues. Let's talk about the real reality. Okay? The real reality is we're not going to really want to glorify worst case times. We're not going to go on there on social media and put all the worst times we're having. That's why social media is a highlight reel. That's why they call it a reel. It's a highlight reel. So if you're watching this, I'm not bashing on social media. Social media, the internet is anything you make of it. If you want to spend your time on the internet researching how to cook up drugs or look at porno or things that are inappropriate, then hey, that's your right. You go do that. But you can also use it as a tool to further enhance your education. You do some research, help you chart out some goals, help you get to your goals faster, help you connect with individuals that can get you there faster, further faster. Has always been something I've stated. But right now, what I'm seeing, statistically, what I'm seeing is I'm seeing more 3% down, 3.5% down, 5% down. After they put the down payment down, they have barely any in reserves. I'm not seeing people with a large amount of savings. When again, the credit is there, the income is there. So what is the root of the problem and how do we solve that? How do we solve that as a community? Like if we really care of our if we truly care about our clients, if you're a real estate agent watching this, if you're a home builder watching this, private or publicly traded, if you're a professional in the financial industries, if you're a mortgage professional, an escrow person, anybody watching this video, if you're a father, mother about to watch your child purchase their first home and you're watching this video, I urge you, like we need to change the thought process of what's going on in our community. We need to start highlight reeling in our own homes how cool it is to have a 6-month reserve. How cool it is to sock away tax-deferred savings on a 401k or an IRA. How cool is that? Because now we paid less in taxes, and we also got to shelter. We got to sock away some money for retirement. By the way, you can borrow from that retirement to be able to put as a down payment so you don't have to touch your liquid reserves. Liquid reserves, what are those? Those are things that come to you after you've paid taxes. How hard is that, right? You worked hard, paid your share of taxes, and now whatever is left after expenses and everything, that's what you've saved. I read somewhere, I'll have to find where I read this so I can cite it correctly, 78% of the American population right now, if an emergency came up that cost $2,000 or more, they would be in a financial bind. That's crazy, right? That's really crazy. So let's start digging at what is the root cause of this problem. Are we being influenced like the right crowd? Are we wrongly being influenced by the wrong crowd? Do we need to realign ourselves with our goal? Have we created that vision? If you're watching this and you're like, man, I really don't know my vision, start here. Say, I'm going to save $10,000 this year. If that's too easy for you and you make a 6-figure income, let's say you make $90,000 to $120,000 or $140,000 a year, bump it up. Say, I'm going to save $26,000 this year. You can do that. If you think you cannot, I challenge you to reach out to me and we can get on a Zoom or we can get on a live and I can show you, because most likely you're eating out a lot. Maybe it's psychologically because you've been cooped up for these last few years, or maybe it's a way that you cope with stress. I know that's what it was for me. I would work myself to the bone, straight workaholic, to where when the weekend would come and we had spare time, I would take my family to a restaurant. And a restaurant turned out for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, because I would feel like that's my outing with them. And, I'd feel bad for being at work so much. So this was my way of guilty, wiping the guilt away and letting them get dessert and hanging out. And, you look at the end of the month and you're like, wow, I spent $1,500 this month eating out. What could I have done with that money? Had I had saved that $1,500, 10 months later, I would have had $15,000 saved. What could I have done with that? So I'm all about having you live your life, but what I'm sharing with you today, the message of this video today is statistically what I'm seeing as a lender in California, and it might be different in other states, I doubt it, is I'm not seeing an income issue. I'm not seeing the ability or lack of income issue. There's tons of jobs out there, and I'm not seeing credit being an issue anymore. I think people are more educated now about how credit works. All right. If you're not, please send me a direct message. I have no problem sharing that information to you for free. Believe it or not, there's a lot of professionals that still do that. They care. It's the assets. People don't have the savings. And I really encourage you, if you're watching this video, to start charting out your goals, start charting out what you want to do with savings. If you don't know where you were at, you're never going to know where you're going. So tip number 2, go to your bank, have them print out the last 3 to 6 months bank statements, print them. Take a highlighter and start highlighting anything that you didn't have to spend. Starbucks, Pete's Coffee. I didn't have to buy this. I didn't have to buy this, but you did anyways because of why. Put a question mark on it. See what's triggering you to spend. It's no different when a fitness trainer is telling you, hey, what's triggering you to overeat? The only difference is instead of getting truly in shape with your physical, you'll get super in shape with your wallet. I hope this was helpful. If there's any way I can help, please shoot me a direct message.